God bless. Hello! I look like a ghost. Today we're going to be doing the Little Less Lonely tag, which was created by Emma, my American twin, and she tagged me in it when she redid it this year. I will put her video in the description below, and I suggest that you watch it because she said that it is her favorite thing that she's done on BookTube. Besides being friends with me, I'm assuming otherwise rude. The first question is a classic that seemed to get you, and like Emma, I chose Anne of Green Gables. Not necessarily because of Anne entirely as a character, but because of her and the story's commitment to honoring friendship and demonstrating how deep and vast and intense and wonderful that type of love is. And especially with Anne feeling like that is where her knack in relationships lie, right? Like that's what's really important to her is friendship and not feeling unfulfilled because she doesn't have romantic pursuits. I mean, like in this specific book anyway. And that speaks to me incredibly as someone who has no interest in pursuing romantic relationships. It feels so nice to be able to connect to something that is similarly committed and able to demonstrate how important this type of love is for me. And then we have a surprise, a book that surprised you by how much it affected you. So I'm going to be doing a whole different video on books that have impacted me and affected me. So I wanted to mention something that I'm not putting in that video, but I have talked about a bit on this channel before, and that is Pretty Deadly Volume 1. I picked this up and read it knowing that it was going to be good because I'd heard so many great things about it, but I didn't think that I could actually be impacted so fiercely by a graphic novel. Like after I finished this book, I was speechless because of how stunning the art is and how stunning the characters are, and it like fucked me up to be able to see such an incredible representation of female characters in such a diverse way. The next book is a book that you read at just the right time, and this is another book that I've already talked about on this channel, and I also read for Can Month, and that is Bottle Rocket Hearts by Zoe Whittall. I haven't connected with a book and a character in so long as much as I did with this one, because after I finished reading it, I realized that this is the first book I have ever read of a character who is bisexual or non-binary in the middle, and who is also around the same age as me, going through a lot of the same stuff in terms of questioning where you are in the feminist movement, where you are in the queer movement, what space you're allowed to take up, where do you belong, essentially. And also just because I know that if I had read this, if I was slightly younger or slightly older, I know that I wouldn't have connected to it in the same way, just because I feel like I'm in like the same headspace as Eve. Just being able to see and consume the perspective of someone who tends to gravitate towards women, but can also appreciate and can be attracted to the masculine as well, and also identifies as being like femme. Incredible, right? Like that was insane for me. And then we have a book that inspires you, and so I have two that I'm going to talk about because I actually had a hard time with this question, kind of defining what it means to be inspired by a book for me. So the first one is the book that has the most inspirational language I've ever read, and that is The Communist Manifesto by Marx and Engels. Specifically, the last few sentences of the book, which are, "Let the ruling classes tremble at a communistic revolution. The proletarians have nothing to lose but their chains. They have a world to win. Working men of all countries, unite." I am personally a Marxist by no means. I don't think that Marxism actually goes far enough, and that's why I tend to gravitate towards anarchism, specifically anarcho-feminism. But I do think the theory holds a lot of super valid critiques and ideas and concepts. So, you know, and I've talked about it on this channel before. One of the last videos I did was on Marxism and reproductive rights. But I mean, that language though. And the other one that I want to quickly mention is one that I'm like just about to finish, and I just want to make it my own video on it. But it does qualify, and that is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And this is about Viktor Frankl, who was a survivor of 5 different concentration camps during World War II. He was a psychologist, and this is his book that is a memoir on that, and also on his own theory of psychology, which is logotherapy, which is all about finding meaning in your life, because through his experience he found that that was the only thing that really keeps people alive and keeps people happy and being able to be active participants in their own life. So I've just been reading this recently, and it's been a good little reminder and inspiration to recenter things in my life in order to not feel overwhelmed and in despair about everything, and instead kind of recenter where the meaning in my life lies. The second last one is a book that calms you. So for me, I find graphic novels and comics to be the most calming, because I find them to be the most escapist, because I've never had such immersive experiences as when I do read graphic novels, and it's also a way to bring in art, visual and textual, into your life, which is important to me. And currently the one that I'm finding the most kind of calming and removing is the current run of Thor, which I'm super behind in, as you can see, and especially because this is the only thing I'm buying issue by issue right now, so it's really great to just have a little break where you can really remove from everything and calm the fuck down for like 20 minutes. And the next one is a book that brings on the nostalgia, and I have already talked about like Kit Pearson and other Lucy Maud Montgomery books on this channel for Can Month, so those all have an immense amount of nostalgia attached to them. But the one that I want to talk about is the Royal Diary series, specifically this one, which was Sunduk, I don't know, I'm ignorant, Princess of the Moon and Stars, Korea, AD 595. So the Royal Diary series is something that was issued by Scholastic, and they did 20 different ones where they provided a fictionalized diary format of like princesses and queens and other royal women when they were younger. And this was the first series that like got me into reading when I was about 10, I think, just on my own. Like, I viciously consumed these books, and it was also so incredible to be exposed to just really dope women in history, right? Like a lot of them are pretty mainstream, but they do it from all over the world and people I have still never learned about. So that is it. We are done. I highly recommend that you watch Emma's video because I enjoyed this tag so much, and I think that everyone should do it. So you are all tagged. You're welcome. I expect to see these promptly.